Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Scooter's World. My name is Scooter. The donkey's name is Shrek. And today, I've got a bit of a problem. So, the last few episodes, I have spent some time exploring the world, going to the Nether, working on progression, all the important things you're supposed to do in a world. But the issue is that I have neglected something else very, very important, and that is building. I have not built enough lately, and today we are going to change that. Now, to that end, as you can see here, I've been building out this little path from my main starter area, and this leads off into the jungle, back to where we originally started when we created this world. And if we come up here, you'll notice that we have marked off this spot, and this spot is the spawn location for the world. So if I were to die without having set my spawn using a bed, this compass tells me that this is exactly where I would spawn in. And now you're saying, how on earth does this help you with the building problem? This is just a weird shroom light on a cobblestone block with some torches. Well, dear viewers, today we are going to be building a tower at that spawn location. That way, if I die and I haven't set my spawn in the world, I will spawn on the top of a nice, beautiful tower, and I'll be able to find my way back to the base far easier, and hopefully with, less issues with zombies and creepers and stuff. So the tower here is, it's going to be where I can spawn in if I die, and I'll have a nether portal here, which I can quick travel anywhere else in the world if I need to, and we'll see if we can put a few other things in here as well. Now, I have been busy gathering some resources, as you can see. So, we've got a whole lot of stuff to work with. And my vision for this tower is something that's going to be reaching out over the treetops. It's going to be a little bit old and overgrown. I'm going to have some holes and some trees breaking out the side of it and leaves and all of that, and I think it's gonna be pretty great. So I am gonna get started on the building process here, and I'll bring you guys in stage by stage as this progresses so that you can see how it is that I'm putting this together. This is something that I am doing completely freehand in survival. I know one method for building is you can spend some time in a creative world and build it to your liking there, and then just copy it over in survival just by looking at it at a reference image. And to be honest, that's probably the smart thing to do. But for me, time is a little bit limited, and counterintuitively, instead of building it faster in creative and recreating in survival, I'm just going to go ahead and try to figure it out in survival as we go. And you guys get the added benefit of seeing that process. And if I make any changes along the way, you'll get to sort of see from start to finish how that looks. But I have been talking for far too long already. So without further ado, let's get started on building. All right, everybody, progress update here. As you can see, I have got one skinny portion of the tower kind of finished, sort of. What you can see is we've got a bit of a gradient that's going to go on here. We are going to start from the darker blocks at the bottom, where theoretically it's going to be more in the shadows under the tree canopy. And as we move higher, those blocks are going to get lighter. And that's an effect that I'm going to sort of spread across all the walls of the tower as we progress here. You can see I've even experimented a bit with some of the other blocks. I've got some mud blocks that I'm going to start mixing in. All of this is, again, subject to change. I just want to get the shape first, and then I'll work on all of the texturing and colors and everything like that. But you can start to get a sense for the scale. It's going to poke over the treetops. I'm going to see if I can plant a few other larger trees as well to come up along the side of it and make it feel really overgrown. And again, as we progress, we're going to knock out some holes in the walls and get a lot of plant life and growth and stuff coming out of it so that it really feels overgrown. But that is the first status update, and I will bring you guys in for the next stage. Okay, everybody, here is the next stage of the tower for you. Now, I am approaching it from a bit of a distance just so you can see the effect of that gradient that I was talking about earlier. Right at the bottom there, you can just see some of those darker blocks, and then as we go up, it gets into the medium grays, and then the bright white at the top there. And that, yeah, it's essentially meant to simulate the effect of the sun shining closer to the top of the tower versus down lower where it's in the trees and under the canopy of the leaves and all of that. But we'll come a bit closer here so you guys can get a better look. But I am so far so happy with how this is been working out. So here we are. And again, as I mentioned, yeah, we've got a lot of the deep slate in here, some basalt, some mud blocks, and then down right at the bottom, I've even put in a bit of blackstone as well. And then as we come up here, you can see we've got some tuff and cobblestone and stone bricks and all of that good stuff all the way up. If we come over the side here, this will give a bit of a better view. On the top of this section, I've got a bit of moss and grass, and I have a lot more to do in terms of adding some of the greenery and trees that I mentioned as well, but this is just a first taste of what that is going to feel like. And if we come in here, I have also added a staircase that goes all the way to the top. I still have to add in the floors as well, but let's come up to the top here and you'll get a sense for the view that we've got. Oh, look at that, we're coming up just as the sun is setting. So I don't have a full floor in here, but yeah, if I jump, you can see the hobbit hole over there. We've got the trees over there, and I just love the way that I've got the top of the tower where it's sort of reaching up still a bit further, as if there used to be more of it, but over time it broke down and decayed. And what my goal is here is that, yeah, if I happen to die, it'll be right here that I will respawn, and then, you know, I can go down to the bottom and all of that. But I do need to find a bed before it gets too dark, so well, here's nothing. Professional. Oh, let's sleep. One other thing I will mention in terms of the thought process behind this. So this use of a gradient like this is actually the first time I have ever done something like this. And, oh, hi, creeper. It's taken a while for me to figure that out in my head, because often I would approach building by saying, okay, what material is it? And then treating each material as what it is. And then, you know, if I want a wall of stone bricks, I used to build it all out of stone bricks. That was just the way that made sense. And that's tends to be the sort of standard, usual way that everyone starts with building. But over the years, I've kind of learned how to approach it more as thinking less of what the block is specifically and more thinking about it in terms of the color and texture that it gives. So in this example, I've got a lot of blocks that are very different from each other. If you think about them, like the mud is a very different thing than deep slate bricks. However, they're pretty close in color. And so if you turn off the part of your brain that says that's a mud block, why do I have a muddy wall? And it just says that's a gray block. It could be stone, it could be anything else. If you just think more in terms of the color, it ends up making a lot more sense. And then that opens everything up in terms of putting ingredients like this and using a wide variety of building materials for one structure, especially when it's something like this that's going to be larger and you'll see from a distance. Like up close, you can see, of course, all the different kinds of blocks that are used. But as we saw when we were back there over by the main base area, you couldn't really see the difference between the individual blocks because you're so far away. So it gives you that great effect without always being up close and personal with all the nitty-gritty little details like that. Nope, this is not for you. Okay, there we go. Okay, but I am going to get to work on finishing up a lot of the details on the outside of this tower and maybe adding a few more floors and things like that, and then I will bring you guys in once all of that is complete. All right, everybody, the moment is here. The tower is complete. So we've got on the outside here, as I mentioned earlier, lots of trees and leaves and just about everything sprouting out of the sides there. I'm going to come up a bit closer so you can see, but up there, a bit of the wall has crumbled away, and you can see the fence gates there are meant to simulate the, I guess, internal supports that you've got there. And then even on the ground here, what I've done, let me get off of this guy here. On the ground, what I've even done is I've put in a lot of just some stone bricks and mossy cobble and gravel, and that's meant to give the idea that over time, some of the stone from the tower has fallen down, crumbled to the ground here, and that's what we've got on this hillside here. If we come through here, ignoring the chest monster that is slowly growing there, don't worry, I will clean that up. But if we come over here, you can see I've added a nether portal to the front entrance here. And this will just make it a bit easier. If I do spawn in this tower, I can find my way through the nether back to my main base or other locations much easier. I don't think I ever mentioned, but when you're in the nether, every 1 block you travel is 8 blocks in the overworld here. So it is really handy for quick travel like that. So let's continue through the tower before it gets too dark. But as we can see, we've got still our very precarious spiral staircase, which I will precariously climb here. And on this first level, this is where one of those trees is poking out the side of the building. Can't really access out there, but I do think it looks rather nice. And then down here, a bit more of the same. We've got some dirt and roots and leaves coming down and another tree poking out the other side of the building. I do like this view from here. It's actually kind of nice in the tower as the sun is setting. Coming around, you'll even see there's a few extra ledges, giving the idea that there used to be other floors in the tower that no longer exist. One more level up here. Again, not much on the interior, but that's okay. And we'll come all around here to the top of the tower. And again, we can look out over the countryside there, but we've got a bit more leaves. We've got a bed right here. But yeah, this is a perfect spot to respawn if anything happens. It is now raining. I shall go to sleep. Now, one of the main purposes of building this tower, as much as it's definitely meant to look good and add a landmark to our area, is I also wanted something where if I were to die without having my spawn set at a bed, I would have a reliable place where I would always respawn each time. Now, the trick with that is I haven't actually tested that this works. So, I'm going to have to die, aren't I? So let's come through here, and I will put all of my stuff into the chest here just so that I don't lose it. There we go. There's my armor. Goodbye, 18 levels. Now, this is my respawn point, but if I break the bed and even place it down again, this game forgets that I will respawn there. So in theory, when I come off of this tower and die, I shall respawn right there. That's assuming I die after the first jump. Let's see if I can get up just a little bit higher. Oh, well, that's embarrassing. I was supposed to die. Let's see. Let's see if I can maybe make one more drop here. Just want to give you guys a bit of a good show. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh. Interesting. Maybe I did remember where the bed was. Okay, let's put the bed in there. Hello, potatoes. Take 2. Geronimo! Oh. Fascinating. I am in a tree. Okay, so maybe this isn't going to work exactly like I had planned, but you know what, that's okay. The principle is still there. In theory, this is still the spawn tower, and we will just pretend that it doesn't spawn me in a tree when I die. Maybe we'll give it one more shot. Ugh, it didn't even work. The best. Geronimo! Oh. Well, at least this time I wound up in the tower. That works. But anyways, let's grab all of my stuff. Okay, so now that we've got all of our stuff back, there is one other thing I wanted to show you about this tower, which is, again, pretty handy. So in theory, let's say I spawn up here and not in a tree, and I need to get down very quickly. Well, I don't want to take that spiral staircase because, as we know, it's very precarious and I could fall to my death down the stairs and that would be embarrassing. So instead, what I've got is a handy dandy little drop chute right in the corner of the tower. So I make my way through the top there, down to here, land in at about, half a foot of water and be completely fine. No harm at all, unlike the previous deaths. Now let me come over here and there we go. 7 whole levels. So nice. But yeah, guys, this is the tower. I've added a few more trees and leaves and things to make it feel a bit more overgrown at the base as well. But I hope you like it. I mean, you've probably already seen in the thumbnail a much nicer shot from from a better angle and all of that, but I am so happy with how this tower has turned out. This has got to be one of the best things I've ever built, at least in terms of applying a gradient and just using some of that design for something like this. So let me know what you think down in the comments, and I would love to see if any of you guys are inspired by something like this. Why not try your hand at some gradients of your own? It doesn't have to be from just black to white. It can also be any color, really. They've added so many blocks into this game now that you could conceivably get from green to purple with 7 stages in between, and it could look pretty cool. Now, one other thing to think about when it comes to the buildings that you've got in your world is, why is the building there? Right? It's a good question. I mean, we know I've built this tower to serve as a focal point for the spawn area in my world, but in terms of the actual world itself, why is there this random abandoned tower poking out of the jungle here? And furthermore, why is it sitting there next to some random little hobbit hole? So something to think about when you're putting together the buildings in your world is the history and the story of your world, and that can give the things that you're building a lot more meaning and a sense of cohesion. In terms of how I'm choosing to think about this world, the Hobbit Hole area that we've got is sort of the present day. It's something that's being built, it's being lived in actively by its inhabitant, and that contrasts with this very ancient structure that's over off in the distance here. And the idea, at least what I've got in my mind right now, nothing really deep and fully fleshed out, but is this sense that there was an ancient civilization that existed hundreds or thousands of years before the present, and they left some of these larger structures and buildings and monuments dotted over the landscape. And perhaps this ancient civilization was far more advanced than the current inhabitants of the world, right? So for instance, in our Hobbit Hole area, we don't have any automated farms or anything. There's no redstone, there's nothing at all. But perhaps in the abandoned tower here, I might put a few simple redstone contraptions or farms in place. And even off in the rest of the jungle, I might build a few other buildings kind of like this, and that's where I can put a few more of the automated farms, like if I wanted to do like an automated sugarcane farm or a bamboo farm or even a mud farm. Those are all sorts of things that I don't think that a hobbit would necessarily be building, but perhaps that's something that they've kind of stumbled across in the area from a long gone civilization of the past. So just like that, in not much time at all, we've come up with a little bit of a backstory for the build, a reason for why it is here. And again, that just gives so much more meaning and it makes the building that much more interesting in your world. So if you are struggling to think of what to build or what to put in your own worlds, try thinking about the story that you're telling, even if it's just a story you're telling for yourself. It doesn't have to be super detailed. It doesn't have to be like Lord of the Rings level of backstory and detail. But something like that can just give you that sense of belonging in your world and make it all fit together and make sense in a really interesting way. And as we progress through this world, we'll find other ways of tying things together and making interesting builds that all sort of mesh together and make sense. And as we ride away with the tower in the rear view mirror, there is one other thing that I wanted to show you guys today, and that's going to play a big part in where the next episode is going to go. We are going to run through this very long tunnel that I have dug for myself, and at the end of this tunnel, here is the first of those discoveries. Right behind me, we are looking at an iron vein, and this is going to be so handy, because if I dig through here, there is essentially a never-ending supply of iron just waiting for me. Now, the other thing is that as I was digging through here previously, something interesting happened. And that, my friends, is a skulk shrieker on the other side of that wall. And as you can see by how dark it's getting, that means I am slowly alerting the warden to my present location. What is the warden, you might ask? Well, if you are not aware, the warden is one of the most dangerous monsters in the entire game, and it's found here in the deep dark. But if you sneak very carefully, you won't be detected. But not only have I just simply found a skulk shrieker down underground here, but I believe that I may have actually stumbled across an ancient city, because I heard some fire crackling on the other side of the wall there, and that's not normal. And if I dig through here, Yes, here we are. Let's risk a little bit more light. All right, friends. Next episode, we are going to be going into this ancient city, seeing what we can find, and seeing if we can avoid alerting the warden and, completely having our faces ripped off by that thing. I do want to see, though, if I can find maybe where that shrieker was, just so that I am aware. Here, shrieker, shrieker, shrieker. Ooh. Okay. I think it's time for me to not press my luck. And I will see you guys in the next episode.